Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.
Ah, yes. People are saying, Rob, you always listen to Kool and the Gang. But the real reason I'm playing Hollywood Swinging is because I'm talking to my big friend in Hollywood. Actually, a friend of mine that goes back many years. I love him like a brother. We are inseparable in many years past, and it's so cool when we get together and we can talk again. Today on this Mike O'Mara Show Extra, we are talking to producer, actor, writer, director John Crye, who I have known since, by my math, 1986.
That is correct.
So 39 years?
I don't even want to do the math.
I know.
Yeah, a lot of years in there. Man.
And he's here to talk to us about a very cool new movie called Looking Through Water. And we'll have some tickets to give away, so stick around. And also, if you think you're interested, we'll run the trailer at the end of the interview because the trailer is a great trailer. So let's go back. I remember, before we get to the interesting stuff, before we talk about Hollywood, I remember meeting you. We were sophomores in high school. And my first impression of you is, this is a guy that gets the references. Because even back then, I was quoting stuff that was too old. But you got it. And then the more I watched you, I said, he's the funniest guy in school. And so I set out to, once we got, to hang out together, it was such a perfect fit. But I do remember seeing you and saying, wow, he is funny. So it's no surprise to me you ended up in Hollywood. That's all I'll say about that.
It's no surprise to me that you ended up in the radio, because at the time that I met you, and I've said this to you before, I'm not going to surprise you here, that I'm always very satisfied and impressed by the fact that you knew what it was that you were wanting to do from the time that I met you, and you're doing it.
It is. It's funny. I think
that's awesome.
One portion of my job is to make people listen to tapes. Well, now we watch them, but make people listen to tapes, and that's just what I did. Turned it into a career. Yeah, I got to play you one more thing. So we did plays together. We improv together. It was so much fun. Some people look back sadly on high school. I had a good time in high school.
I had a great time in high school.
We had a great crew together. So that was awesome. Did. And we graduated class of 89. And like everyone in radio, I went to Richmond. But you went up to Boston and got into the comedy scene up there, right? Is that sort of how things started? Tell us about Boston.
Yeah, I went to Emerson College.
Noted art school.
Noted art school.
I
More
believe
noted now than when I was there, honestly.
I believe I was not invited to attend.
That's only because you didn't apply, because that's
no, I think I sent them the $15. I think I sent the money, and they said, no, I don't know what it was. Maybe
the test was, can your parents sign the check? I think.
Yeah, well, no hard feelings to the whole city of Boston.
It was I really enjoyed the school. It's Emerson is a very different school now than it was when I was there. At the time I was there, it was like Hogwarts. Or Brigadoon. It was this.
That's a weird combination.
Yeah, well, it's like it was an art school, but it was scattered. There was no campus, so it was just a bunch of brownstones scattered all around the back bay of Boston. You wouldn't know that this given building was part of Emerson unless you found this little plaque. This little thing was like down at ground level that you go, oh, that's an Emerson building. And it's like, and then it faded. Like by the time I graduated, or a couple of years after I graduated, every building that was an Emerson building when I was there was sold. So the campus is now on the other side of the park, completely different school. At the time that I was there, we kind of thought of it as like, the Diesel Institute of Theater. There was a very, very hands-on theater school.
That sounds fantastic. VCU was a similarly disjointed campus when I went. Now, Julia just graduated. My daughter just graduated from there a couple of years ago, exactly 30 years apart from me. And it's so shocking to go down and see that, the porno theater, they bought that and turned it into a playhouse. Yeah. And so help me, they bought the show bar. They had the greatest neon sign on Broad Street called Show Bar. And they bought
Show
that
Bar. That's
Show
awesome.
Bar. But yeah, so I mean, it's funny that now we're old enough that things have changed.
Yeah, like the area where the school is now was this. It was the same thing as where all the porn theaters were. It when I was in Boston, that area was called the Combat Zone. That was just the nickname of the neighborhood, and now that's Emerson.
I do remember coming off Route 95 for our school visit with my mother, Sharon, who you know, delightful. And we were in her beautiful, beautiful light blue Ford Taurus. And as soon as we got off the exit for VCU, I heard her lock the power locks in a moving car. I said, I think we're going to be okay.
We're going 40. I think we're all right.
So when you were up there, tell me about how you met up and started to work with my best friend I've never met, Bill Daly.
Bill Daly. Well, I mean, we were just assigned roommates. Freshman year was the luck of the draw kind of a thing.
I had no idea. I thought you guys sought each other out. Oh, that's cool.
And you know, what's really funny is that the very first time we met each other was kind of like meeting you. It was like our very first time we met each other was a bit. He walked into the dorm room. I said, and I wouldn't have remembered this were it not for the fact that there were other people present that mentioned it later. But he walked in and I said, how's it hanging? He said, North by Northwest. I said, you've got a Hitchcock. And, and kind of from that point, we started writing.
That's sort of a magical exchange right there. That's pretty great.
We wrote within the first week of school, we wrote several sketches. We auditioned for an on-campus comedy group as a team, which they hated. They thought that we were the most pretentious jerks to come in there as a team with our own material and insist to perform our own material.
You're such a jerk.
It's such jerks. But we ended up, Bill and I started performing in clubs with a group called This End Up that was like a 5-man sketch group. It's really great folks there. Rick Crowley, who was part of that group, ended up going out to LA before the rest of us and becoming part of the Groundlings. Cool. And then Bill and I, Bill Daly and John Crye, we created a team called Daily Cry that broke off. We started hosting at comedy clubs. And we were hosting comedy clubs in Boston in the really early 90s, up to about 95. So we were hosting.
If I'm not mistaken, I hate to interrupt, but isn't that known in circles that I don't occupy as sort of a golden era for comedy in Boston in the early 90s?
I think it was the end of it. I think
the tail end. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the tail end because we were there there were a lot of great comics, of course, who had already, come through Boston, but we were there in the wave that included Bill Burr and Joe Rogan. And, a handful of other folks that were kind of getting started off, Greg Fitzsimmons and a bunch of other folks that were starting.
I've met Greg Fitzsimmons. He's a very nice guy. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
And you worked with, if I'm not mistaken, Stephen Wright. You did some work with him
in
Boston?
We did.
Yeah.
We opened for Stephen when he came to Boston to do a show at the Emerson Majestic, and Bill and I were performing. I can't remember what club we were performing in Cambridge, and this is I remember this so well because it's the highlight of my brief comedy career.
Cool.
We walked out of the club when we were leaving, and Stephen Wright followed us out of the club, pursued us out onto the sidewalk, and was like, "Hey, you guys are Emerson guys, right?" And we're like, yeah, and he's like, "I'm performing at the Majestic. Do you want to open for me?" And so we got to open for Stephen Wright, and just being invited by Stephen to open for him was I was kind of like, I'm done now, I can quit.
Yeah, I've had moments like that, and then they still want the mortgage. I don't get it.
I still got to pay the rent.
But I saw Stephen Wright when he was starting out at the Barns of Wolf Trap, which is not a great comedy room. But
no, but I'm sure
I went home and wrote down everything I could remember because he didn't have anything released yet. Yeah. You didn't have VCRs. You didn't have certainly YouTube. He was so remarkable to me the first time I saw him. So it's so cool that you got to work with him. That style that
he has of just line after line after line after line.
The thing that I think about is, how does he do it without a stammer and without a script? There is a weird file cabinet in his head
and
that allows him to do that.
What's also really strange is that his entire act is so deadpan or even a little slow and depressive. And like, as a guy, he was actually really effusive and like
Really?
he was really upbeat and laughed easy.
He showed a little bit of that in Mad About You, just a touch.
That's true. That's true.
Because he wasn't totally, but he was still pretty deadpan. Well, I'm glad that he's a good guy. That makes me feel good.
He's a really good guy and a funny guy. So it's like I always wonder when I see somebody's act and they've got this very depressive act. I'm always like, are they just sad all the time? Like, is Mark Maron just angry all the time? And
I actually asked that question of an author.
Yeah.
He wrote a book. I think it was called "The Frog is Dead." It was something about you can only do an autopsy on a frog so many times before it's dead. Anyway, it was a great book about comedy. And I said just a few, and I rattled off like 4 fast questions. I said, "Is Mark Maron as miserable as he seems?" He said, "Absolutely." Okay. Yeah.
I've always
I think he's happier now that his podcast is ending and he's Mr. Showbiz.
Sure.
Yeah.
That helps.
But so you graduated in 93?
Graduated in 93, hung out in Boston for a few years. Bill and I started a little theater above a Chinese restaurant in Harvard Square, where we were doing weekly shows with Daily Cry. And then we just kind of felt like we had done Boston. We kind of done everything we could. And we flipped a coin to see if we would move to LA or New York. And I think the first 3 times it came up New York, so we just kept on flipping.
I was going to say, you seem more like as long as I've known you, you seem a little more LA oriented than New York. Yeah, but they're both great.
They're both great. I just there's an energy to New York that a lot of people really like that I just don't.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time there, and it's very urgent. And I've also found that the people of New York can be giving you a compliment, and it sounds like a threat. It's just the way they talk. So, I mean, but I love the people of New York, but as you said, not for me, really. So you land?
I had a good time playing clubs there, but it was like, I want to be here it was like Las Vegas to me. Like the first 2 days, great. By the 3rd day, it's like, I gotta leave.
Yeah, you got to get out of there. So you land in Hollywood. I'm guessing you drive?
I drove cross country from Boston in the storm of the century, in a U-Haul truck with a limiter, so it could only go like 48.
Been there. No fun. No fun. So now I got to know, because I've never done the big move to another place across the country like that. What did you have planned before you went there so you would be set when you arrived, or was there any planning? Plan.
Well, now that's not entirely true. Bill and I we did have a manager at the time who was connecting us to another manager in LA.
Was he crooked?
Just ineffectual, let's say that.
That's you use the prettiest words.
It was yeah, we had a manager set up for us that didn't pan out. We had a theater space set up for us that that we performed for a while. We stuck at it as Daily Cry for about another year, but something that we discovered playing the clubs around LA and doing that residency at this place called the Upfront, we realized really quickly that like what we did was Neo-Vaudeville. We did a patter routine, we did music, we did juggling, we did magic, we did all this kind of stuff. And LA just fucking hated that. Yeah. That was not LA's groove. They wanted sort of like, if you were going to do characters, it had to be sort of like angry and coked up.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't this like when it was like alternative comedy?
Yeah,
or am I missing it wrong?
And we're like, we're alternative, and they're like, not like that though.
Right. We want the other alternative.
We want an alternative to your alternative. And our manager was like, look, I can start booking you guys on tours and cruise ships and shit, but LA does not like you. And so at that point, she basically said, do you want to, is it film or television? That's what we do here. Okay. And Bill had kind of always wanted to break into television. When we got out here, we were doing what everybody else was doing in the mid 90s. You write a spec Friends, you write a spec Simpsons, you write a spec, Frasier. We did all that, and Bill ended up becoming very successful as a TV writer. He wrote for the 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter with John
Sure.
Ritter,
Mhm.
Mike and Molly. He took off like a late freight. He really did.
I
and
can
was
see it
great.
working. He's a genuinely funny guy.
He's a
He just
genuinely funny
truly
dude.
is.
And he's also just a really amicable guy. I mean, that's the thing about TV writing is you got to be good in the room.
Sure.
You know, you have to work well with other writers, and
Mhm.
like Bill's the kind of writer who, and it's the great thing about writing with him is he just always made everything better. You know, there was always
Yeah.
another turn or another joke or another
Mhm.
a way of plussing it just that little bit.
I was going to
That
say
you
the exact same word, plus it
like
up. Yeah.
like the thing that I would never have thought of was always the thing that Bill hit.
That's
And
probably why you two work so well together. You had a lot of overlap, but you had your extended stuff as well.
yeah, and I think that Bill tended to be a little more grounded in like situational stuff. So like
Mhm.
my stuff would get all flighty and nuts, and he was the one that kind of, kept it steady.
That's a great mix. I mean,
Yeah.
you need it's the same thing in radio. If you don't have at least one person in your show that's linear, you're losing it. Because Mike and I together, it's like, well, today we're going to talk about haircuts and donuts and children and the new Oreo cookie. And that's
What's that?
yeah, and luckily, we've had people in the past that sort of keep us on the straight and narrow, which is good.
Right.
I suppose, but I like that tension there. So what was the first thing you landed? Obviously, if Bill went towards TV, you leaned towards film.
I wanted to film, and that was, I had moved out there as an actor and a writer.
Right.
I got a piece of not great advice that I was told that basically the way you worked your way into acting was you got a commercial agent, you did that for a while, and then you would like get a theatrical agent to start booking television and movies. That's not how it works at all. Commercial is its own thing. So, so I was laboring in commercials for about a year. And
did you land any products we'd know?
I did. I had I did a Boston Globe ad, actually 3 or 4 Boston Globe ads, despite the fact that it was shot in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, you had the history.
Yeah.
It's like they wrote it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're from Boston. And then, there was like a regional Ford ad.
Oh, cool.
It's like a handful of regional commercials. Never got a national that made a huge amount of money, but but I was working consistently enough. And then my ex and I, she got pregnant with our oldest child, Maddox, and I realized that it was time for me to make some steady money.
Yeah.
And so
before you were making steady money, but you were getting the commercial. I mean, the thing about that is that's one hit, and then the next day you're unemployed again. Were you doing enough work in that way to support you and your ex, or did you have to take another job at the time?
I was working other jobs.
Okay.
I was, because it's inconsistent work.
Yeah.
And even if you do get a good payday, probably the dumbest thing to do would be like, oh, I'm never working again.
Exactly.
You just keep on working. And I remember a story from Sean William Scott was telling me that when American Pie opened, and he was still working at Home Depot, and like people were coming in and like, aren't you Stifler? And he's like, yeah, I guess, but I work, but as big as that film was, none of them were really paid on it. So
the amazing thing is he was the only person at Home Depot that was answering questions, and it was just I am.
Yeah, that's me.
I don't know where the nails are.
I can't tell you what aisle I'm on, but yeah.
So when we get to the big screen, the motion pictures, what was your first experience of note as far as you feel?
Really, my first experience of note ended up kind of like blowing the curve for my entire career, because it ended up being this hit right out of the gate. I was reading scripts. I was writing coverage. It's like writing book reports for a living. The funny thing is that 30 years ago, when I was doing it, I was getting $50 a script. You read the script, you write notes.
Yeah.
You make the same thing now. If you move to Hollywood right now and you read script, you'll make the same thing you were making.
So back then it was like $1 million. And for those of you who need a reference point, let me truly put this podcast in black and white. the female lead, other than Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard, was doing script coverage. That was her character. And so anyway, you're like Nancy Olson.
Yes, script coverage has been around forever. It's you know, it's one of those things that it's generated within a studio where you have executives who aren't going to read a script unless it's already passed through gatekeepers. And so I was one of those gatekeepers. And I was working at a company. There's a foreign sales company. They, you know, just would sell the foreign rights to films. And I was writing all of their coverage. I was like the only person that was writing coverage.
Was it driving you crazy? It seems like that with the amount of stuff you have to go through, it must be tedious at times.
I kind of, I enjoyed it though, because I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to film school. So I was really intent on learning what screenplay was and how to do it, and reading a lot of really bad ones kind of instructed me as to like, this is the kind of thing that people don't like to read, and this is the kind of thing that when a gatekeeper picks up a script, the things that are going to make them throw it across the room. And so I started teaching myself that way, and then all of the coverage that I was writing was also going to this other company called Newmarket, that were these two English bankers that were just they were doing a thing called gap financing, which is doing bridge loans for movies. Like, you know, the movie's $10 million, but they just need somebody to step in with like the last $1 million. And that's what these guys would do. And they were selling all their films through the foreign sales company I was working for. So they were getting all my coverage, and they liked it. They liked the reports I was writing. And they said, come over to Newmarket and start a creative department that would allow us to produce our own films and own them instead of just investing bits.
How old were you at this point?
I was 27.
Is that old enough to start a creative department?
No. I also did not know what development was. They were like, so do you do development? And I went, yeah. And then, and this was before Google. Like I couldn't even go Google it. You know? Like, I think I went to like a Barnes and Noble and like went into the film section, with like looking for books that said, no idea. You know, you say yes and you
and you keep going, right?
You keep going, you figure it out. So I started a development company and a division at Newmarket, and they were like, so do you have somebody that you know, can be the in-house producer? And I was like, well, there's this other Emersonian that I've been shooting short films with on the weekend, and I was like, you want to be the in-house producer? Yeah. And I was like, we're so dumb. Like can't believe they let us do that.
Well, it does. Yeah, it is. It's you're smart and your buddy's smart. Newmarket maybe should have, you know.
They probably should have looked into things.
Is this just a one-page resume? Because it's thin. It's thin.
It's awfully thin. Yeah. I was like, I worked at the foreign sales company or this video store or Kinko's.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about your background at Errol's. That'll mean a lot to DC people. Your favorite job.
That was my real film school, was Errol's Video.
That's so cool.
So the you know, they were like, you know, start this department, and I bring over my buddy Aaron, who's going to be the in-house producer, and they're like, so what do you have? And so we had just been out at a bar, or we went out to a bar with this guy who had just graduated film school. Aaron had been working in London and had met him and his wife, and they had just moved over. And we go out to, you know, a bar together, and I'm introduced to him. And Aaron's like, this is, you know, this guy just finished his college thesis film. His name's Chris Nolan. And I went, so Chris, and his brother Jonah, who went on to write the Westworld series. They're both there. And it was like, so, you know, we got to pitch something. What do you got? Right. And he it's now famous. People who are into film know this shape, right? Because they've seen him draw it in YouTube videos now and interviews and stuff. But he literally flipped over a beer mat. We were at, I think it was the King's Head pub in Santa Monica, and he flips over this beer mat. He takes out a pen out of his ubiquitous blazer, and he goes, I don't know exactly what the story is yet, but it's shaped like this. And he made a U on the bar mat. And I was like, and he goes, it's going to go forward this way. It's going to go back this way. It's going to be here. And it was like, cool. And so that's what we started developing. And unfortunately, like Will and Chris, the owners of the company, they never read a draft of it. They never looked at notes. They didn't. I don't even know if they watched dailies when we started filming it.
When the investors at Newmarket that were, you know, sort of hands off, that had to feel, besides scary, pretty good that it was all in your hands and they trusted you. Because at that point, I don't think an investor getting involved is going to help the process.
No, I know. It wouldn't have. And I wish that I could say it felt good. It just felt terrifying.
Okay. All right.
And at the time, I didn't really have any, I didn't have enough context at the time to realize how completely bonkers, off the wall fortunate this was.
Yeah.
I just thought this is the way things happen, because
it's an eye of the storm thing. When it's happening around you, sometimes you just don't realize it.
You just don't know. Well, like the way Bill and I used to, when we would put up stage shows in Boston, we would go to our manager or go to the theater owner, and we would go like, it's called, we'd like come up with a name for it, and they'd go, that sounds great, and then we'd have to go write it, you know, like we were just pitching stuff that we didn't even have yet.
Exactly.
And so this just felt like the same thing. I was like, well, this is what I've done before, and I didn't realize till I was kind of through it on the other side of like just how risky that was, but also how lucky we were, because Will and Chris did support the film. It was a little under $5 million. And we showed the film to everybody in Los Angeles, every distributor in Los Angeles, and everyone hated it.
Good start.
Just hated it. And like, I was standing, Aaron and I were like, it was at the screening room, and we're like standing against the wall as everyone's filing out past us. And my boss is sort of standing between us. And this is going to sound like a made-up story at this point. Swear is 100% true. Harvey Weinstein comes up the aisle.
Hey, good guy.
And gets in my boss's face, because I didn't know who I am. Gets in my boss's face, and he's like, "That's not a movie. That's 2 hours of my life I won't get back."
Oh, no.
Yeah, and walks out. And so I'm like, oh, great. Oh, boy. And like, my wife's pregnant, and I'm about to lose my job. And I just wasted like $4.5 million, these people's money. But fortunately, they believed in it enough that they put another million or so behind it to self-distribute the film. And it made $28 million at the domestic box office, 80 something overseas. And suddenly we were a distribution company as well as a production company. And I've just basically, that happened by accident, and I've been running ever since.
And what was the name of the movie?
Memento.
Yeah, you hadn't mentioned that.
Oh, sorry. Memento.
Oh, it's an incredible film. I mean, it's, I have to ask before I laud it any further, when it had the bad preview, and then was it changed, or did they just still believe in it? So the movie we saw is the one that Weinstein hated. The movie you saw is the one that Weinstein hated. Now, I do have to say, not that I am trying to make any kind of apology for Harvey, but he did eventually send a one-sentence apology letter that hung in the Newmarket kitchen for years. And the one sentence was, "Every day I tell someone that I'm the idiot who passed on Memento." And that's pretty solid piece of apology right there.
That, you know, for a monster who, you know, terrified me.
I just remember I watched the movie before I knew of your involvement in it, because, you know, our contact is sporadic because you moved away.
Yeah, particularly.
No hard feelings. Then, but when I found out, I think it was a movie that I watched and then watched again, because it was just thrilling in the way that it was laid out, and the confusion and the frustration, the innate frustration of the movie. It spoke to me. So when that was a hit, how did that make you feel?
I mean, it made me scared, honestly.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, I can't do that again.
Hmm.
That it was, now the bar was kind of raised,
Sure.
and we suddenly jumped up this acceleration where we went from developing this little tiny film that we weren't sure if anybody was going to see to now developing much larger films. I immediately started development on The Prestige, which was the next film we did with Chris. We
Right.
immediately started acquiring other films because now we had a distribution system. We had a pipeline we had to keep rigid. So
Sure. Sure.
I had to go out and I started doing the film festival circuit and acquiring films to push through the system. And yeah, so I mean,
It has to
kind of,
be thrilling. I'm sorry to interrupt. It has to be thrilling to be in that sort of nonstop cycle of movie production and acquisition and distribution, but also it has to be exhausting.
yeah, I think if I did it again, I would enjoy it more. Well, because I was doing that. I was like on the road for a month out of the year. I had two small kids. There was the films were successful. All of I'm proud to say that all the films that I worked on at Newmarket, over 45 titles, we never lost money.
That's wild.
It took a long time for some of them to make their money back. Like Donnie Darko took a long time to make its money back, but they are in profit, and so I feel good about that. But at the time, there was just it felt like a lot of stress.
Yeah,
and I'm an actor and a writer myself, and it started to kind of, some of the success at Newmarket infringed upon some of the other stuff I was doing, because I would go out as a writer and I would, be pitching something, a script somewhere, and they'd say, well, if this is so good, how come Newmarket isn't doing it? And it's like, well, what I write is not what I do at Newmarket. It's very different stuff. And I started having to write under a pseudonym, and it was, there was a little bit of probably more of an ego struggle, probably more of a young man thing. I don't think it would bother me.
Well, I mean, that kind of job, I don't think belongs to an older person. If you have that kind of stress, you need to be a younger person, or it's going to kill you, and it might kill you anyway.
You certainly need
exactly.
Energy.
So what happened between that and how did we get to Stark Raving Mad, which was in 2002?
Yeah, that happened because that largely happened because of Memento. That we had success there, and they knew that success was through a team that I had brought in, that people that were friends of mine. And we had also attracted the attention of A Band Apart, which was Tarantino's company. That, some of his producing partners had kind of taken an interest in what we were doing. And so we wanted to put something together that was that would go into that sort of A Band Apart world, that sort of crime comedy world. And there was a writer-director team that I had already been working with, that other Emersonians, and they pitched this thing that was kind of lock, stock, and two smoking barrels sort of style, high energy comedy. And it got greenlit pretty quickly because of Memento, and then I was in Vancouver. We were shooting Stark Raving Mad in Vancouver.
Okay.
While Christopher Nolan was there shooting Insomnia, and then at night we would do development notes on The Prestige. That was the next film. So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I can't even
energy
imagine.
involved. I couldn't probably muster it now.
Well,
but,
Stark Raving Mad is a blast, and as you know, you still have your hair, but in that movie, you're really just showing off.
Had a lot of it. Had a lot of it there.
You're funny in it. It had to be. You'd been involved in the business leading up, but you are in a big budget explosion type movie with gunplay and real Hollywood stars. How did it feel doing that? Because that had to be it's like almost stepping into a different world because it's not what you had been doing.
Yeah, it's weird because I had to straddle two sides of the fence on that. I had worked on the script, as the development person,
Right.
but I was also friends with these guys and they wanted to cast me in this role. And it was this sort of thing I was having to do with Newmarket of like, well, I'll be on set as your eyes, but I'm also acting in the thing, which so it was an odd double duty. And it became really difficult that I gotta say, while I still do like the film, and there's a great, if you like EDM, the Paul Oakenfold soundtrack is great. But I would say that they're like the funniest stuff ended up cut. There was I had a scene with Tim Sharp that was really funny that got cut. There was some really great stuff from Dave Foley that got cut.
He's so funny. Was that because they wanted it briefer? Did they want a more serious tone to the caper, or why was that done?
The whole thing about nobody reading the script on Memento, that stopped because we were in pre-production. We're already in Vancouver, and Will Tyrer, the owner of the company, his wife read the script, and there was a lot of stuff in there that was just hard R comedy. And she really took offense at a lot of it. And so there were a lot of things that just either got cut or got watered down. There's a shot that's still in the film that's a joke that just, to my mind, it does not work because and I apologies to anybody with sensitive constitutions. This was 90s comedy.
Sure.
That there's a girl who's trying to get into the nightclub, and she's a blonde.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was originally, there was full frontal nudity in there to prove, she was proving that the ID was actually her, the ID that she's using is hers. And that even though she's blonde in the ID and she's brunette, that it's the same person. You can guess how she was to prove that, but that was
surprised me. Yeah, that in that scene.
Well, that was originally done in a single shot, and it was like kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And but when they decided they didn't want us to be so hard R and did not want to have full frontal nudity and things like that, that the camera move, the joke had to be changed. And I just don't.
It softened the joke.
It softens the joke.
Sadly,
yeah. My character in the film wears a jersey that just says 64 on it. But originally and right up to the first day of shooting, I was wearing a smiley face t-shirt that had a smiley face on the front and a frowny face on the back. And again, coarse language warning. Above the smiley face on the front, it says, "Fuck you." And on the back above the frowny face, it says, "You fucking fuck." And yeah, and they were like, "You can't wear that because when we have to then sell it to television or sell it to airlines, they would have to
hadn't thought about
blur."
that. Yeah,
I'm in a lot of the movies, so they have to digitally blur every single time I'm on screen.
Wow.
So that got cut.
Well,
there were a lot of things like that. There was another big, gag with the DJ kind of goes out of his mind.
My part.
Yeah, he starts chasing people around the floor with a torch.
And I should say at this point that anytime I do watch one of your projects, I always figure where I fit in. Had I gone to Hollywood,
yes, you would have been the DJ.
I could have played the DJ, and that's what I do in real life.
Or the Adam Arkin role, that would have been.
I'll take it. I'll take whatever you're offering.
But club owner would have been.
Stark Raving Mad is streaming. It's a simple search, and it's a lot of fun.
And if you like Sean William Scott, it's one of the very few leads that Sean has done, and he's a lot of fun in it.
And my favorite scene is when your name comes on the screen. That's the best part for me. I still get excited about that.
Oh, here's another thing that that we got messed up on. I just completely forgot. There's a scene where Patrick Breen and I are playing with the race cars.
Yes.
The race car scene, which I think is a funny scene, but
I like it. Yeah.
It was originally, I think it was either Clue or Battleship. There was a branded game that we were playing that the whole scene was about the rules of that game.
Right.
And then we didn't get the clearance. The brand clearance didn't come through in time, so we had to change it to something that was generic. So it was
yeah. Well, I like the race car scene. I think that plays exceptionally well.
It still plays because the dynamic is just Patrick Breen's character is so excited and childlike, and I'm just angry at everything. So
if I remember, the one of the exchanges is just like, winning, shut up. It's just, I loved it. All right,
you can't win. You just pull the trigger and make your car go around. Yeah.
So that movie, when you saw it all put together, a real big Hollywood caper film, and you go and you see yourself in it, that's got to feel pretty amazing and a little surreal. I'm just guessing.
Hated it. I hated
really?
it.
Why?
Yeah, because I don't like the sound of my voice doesn't sound like me to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I hear listening to myself right now, I hear myself one way, but then when I hear myself on
captured,
it just doesn't sound like me. And I don't know that I was actually properly cast in that role. So I never felt totally comfortable in it. And then just the fact that, I mean, I felt such ownership of the development of the thing. And then so much was removed sort of in the last minutes, in pre-production. So I don't feel like we had the fixes that I wanted.
I hadn't
I'm really
thought about
upselling the film now, but no, I mean, there are a lot of people who enjoy the film, but like when I watch it, I see that stuff,
like anyone listening to a tape or watching them. So they're going to focus on things they don't like. It's
and
the way people are.
Anytime somebody starts wanting to get into movies, I always say, do you want to feel the magic or do you want to know the trick? Because once you know the trick, you're not going to feel the magic anymore.
Exactly.
And that's with that one, because I know the sleight of hand on that one, I'm always seeing the coin in my hand, and I'm always like, you guys, you fell for that. So it's like, it doesn't.
But that's the trade-off. But I do like that, the magic or the trick. So where did you go from there? Now that you're in you're around Hollywood now, you're an actor.
Yeah. Well, I immediately stopped acting.
Good boy.
Yeah. No, there was about a year later, there was a tragedy in my life. I lost my brother in an accident, and it just it took the wind out of my sails. And a lot of the stuff that the energy that it took to work a full-time development job and also try to pursue acting, where like if you want to go on an audition, you got to take off, you got to move all your other work around, I just couldn't muster it anymore.
Yeah.
And there was a moment, and this was, yes, I had now acted in a movie, but my agent was still a commercial agent. So I was driving down the highway one day, and I was going to an audition, and I dropped off my son at a babysitter, and I'm going to an audition, and I realized that I was driving. I was like, I don't even want to go to this. I don't even want this audition.
Right.
That I was going to it because I had passed on a couple of others, and I was feeling bad for my agent.
That's not right.
This is
that's not healthy
reason to do this. So after that audition, I went home, called my agent, and I was like, I'm kind of done with this. But oddly enough, as soon as I dropped the commercial agent, my friends who were directors just started putting me in things. So every now and then, I still get to act. I still whether it's shorts or something, or like in The Prestige, Chris put me in a little role in there, and I get stuck in little stuff here and there, and I enjoy that. But that's that's about as much acting as I continued to do. Continued to do some stage stuff here and there.
Do you think that you got, I don't want to make it into something horribly mental, but did you sort of get the acting out of your system?
In a way, I think what it really was that once I had acted in a film, in a feature where I had a character that wasn't just in a scene. I wasn't just paging P.W. Herman. I had, it was a character that had an arc, and I got to do that. And then I realized that it wasn't that great. That I enjoyed it. But acting on stage there's a really wonderful feeling that you get from working with other actors and working with the audience and sort of being in the moment. And that's not what film is.
No, I did my one credit. I did an episode of the show Crashing.
Yes.
And it was so cool for me because it was shot on film with cartridges of real film. And, you know, sometimes they just say, stop, we're out of film. And I'm like, oh,
gotta change.
So we're not doing any more of the scene. And then the coverage stuff is really weird. And you always are starting to think, have I done this wrong? Or something like, because you're not living in the moment at all.
No.
You're at the direction of the director. And on stage, you are living in the moment.
And you're living it straight through. There's a consistency. You can get into a moment and then you do that for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you're done. And with film, the fact that you've got to, like, at any moment, they're like, oh, we're ready for you now. You've been waiting for 4 hours. Oh, we're ready. Come over here now and do it. You know, so there is a very particular kind of actor that can do that. And I just didn't find it that pleasurable. I discovered that I really liked post-production. I really liked editing. I really liked assembling things, but I didn't really get satisfaction out of film acting. I think somebody asked me to describe the difference, and I think it comes down to this: on stage, you're a painter, and on film, you're paint. On film, you can control your color and your hue, your intensity, but you don't have any other control over the performance.
Yeah. When it's all said and done, did you also miss the immediacy of having an audience while you perform? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, you don't, when you're acting for a camera, if you're lucky, you've got a scene partner that you're doing the scene with, and that, you know, that you enjoy working with them. But sometimes, like you were saying, like with coverage, sometimes it's just you and the camera. Yeah. And, you know, you don't have anybody you're working off of. And it's just, I don't know.
And even if you have someone you're working with, the jokes stop being funny after 5 rehearsals.
After about 5 rehearsals or 20 takes or whatever. And then by the time an audience sees it, it's months down the road or even a year. And by the time anybody else sees it and has an opinion on it, it's like you've almost forgotten that you did it.
Yeah.
So, so if they're like, "Oh, that was great," it feels very distant because you know, it was a long time ago for you.
And probably during that time, you're thinking, "I probably could have done it better." Let me see what happens in 6 months. Yeah. I totally get it. I totally get it. I got to ask, as a fanboy, when I think of you in Hollywood, I'm not going to lie, I think of an episode of I Love Lucy and you're eating at the Brown Derby. That's my vision of Hollywood. But that's from a lifelong East Coaster. When you're in Hollywood and you've lived there for a long time. Are there any great Hollywood moments or star-related moments that have happened to you in real life, just because you're out there in the motion picture capital of the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. There's this, you just end up.
And I hate to fanboy on you. I'm sorry, but I like this stuff.
I mean, it's just that sort of weirdness of LA, because it's a company town that, like, I used to, you know, there's certain people that you would just end up seeing all the time, and it's totally random. Like up in my old neighborhood, Sid Haig, who played Captain Spaulding in the Rob Zombie movies. He shopped at my Vons. So I'd come around the corner and there's like Sid Haig there, and it always startled me.
I always laugh at Vons and Albertsons because those are your two grocery stores out there. But I don't think of famous people going to the grocery store. But they have to choose. They have to choose Vons or Albertsons.
They got to choose it. And there was actually a time, this would have been 1997. That I went to like a drugstore, CVS or something, like middle of the night because my baby's sick, and I'm doing the frantic search up and down the aisle. And then I look, and also doing the frantic search up and down the aisle is Will Smith.
Did he hit you?
No, he didn't.
Thank God.
I kept his wife's name out of my damn mouth.
I think that's very good of you.
So that's the smartest thing you can do.
But
But
I just,
but I mean, that's you end up seeing like people in these very normal situations.
yeah, it's, you occasionally see a politician around DC, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, it's just,
Wow, look at that.
they're at work. Yeah, they're
That's
at work.
you. Yeah. One of the first, the two first celebrities that Bill and I met, because we moved out to LA together.
Mhm.
I was in a Ralph's in Hollywood.
And no shade on Ralph's. It's another great store.
And I came around the corner and ran into Ron Jeremy. He was the very first celebrity that I met in Hollywood. And I did one of those, like, first time seeing somebody out of context, and I just went like, "You're number one, buddy."
It's tough.
And he's like, "Hey,
yeah, it is really tough to see people out of context like that.
Yeah. Oh, and then we were at the Hollywood Athletic Club, which was not an athletic club, it was a pool hall.
Right.
Bill Daly hit Corbin Burnson in the balls with a pool cue by accident.
Well, he'll never be on LA Law.
No, that ship has sailed.
So, guy, the time is flying. I want to move ahead and talk to you a little about your directorial debut, the movie Chance, which is also streaming on, I believe I found it on Amazon Prime.
I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and it is. I just have to tell you how proud I am of you, because we all set out to do what we set out to do, but when you were sharing pictures on Facebook of you shooting the film and being a director, that's surreal to me because you're my buddy. But then I watched the film, and especially, and this I got to ask you about, you convey the baseball stuff in the first two acts of the movie so well, and you have the same knowledge of sports that I do.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not a baseball guy.
how did that work? Because it looked like a love letter to the game at times. It was just so beautifully done.
Well, that was a project that, part of, since Newmarket, the two partners retired in 2010, sold the library, sold the company, and I've been independent since then. And a lot of
Right.
what I do is I work with writers, and sometimes they're brand new writers. It's sort of helping them develop screenplay. It's almost like a one-on-one screenwriting process that screenwriting class that I sort of help you develop your story into a screenplay. And this was a client who came to me, who was the real life. The client was the real life Coach Mike,
The Matthew Modine character.
The Matthew Modine character.
And I should mention the movie is based in truth. So
it is. It is.
Okay.
It is a true story. And this gentleman who he's actually a top insurance salesman, New York Life insurance salesman, but his love is baseball, and he lives in this little town called Hamersville, Ohio. He built a complex, a 10 baseball diamond complex in Hamersville called the Flash Complex. And he started this youth baseball program just basically to keep kids out of trouble.
Sure.
And a lot of the baseball, little league and youth leagues in the area play at the Flash Complex. And so, Mike knows the game inside and out and was definitely passionate about it. And that sort of love letter to baseball definitely came from him.
Okay.
And then his son, Seth, who is a director in his own right, he has a horror film coming out called The Rose. He was always on set as the baseball expert. So like
a technical advisor of
the technical advisor, because I would read in the script and it would say like what a play was, and I was like, I have no idea where to put the camera.
I really could picture that, because that's what I was thinking. But you told the story so well, so he did a good job with you.
He did a great job. And the other thing was, every single one of the kids that plays in the 12-year-old section, where you really see the baseball being played, they were all legit baseball players. And we were told not to cast actors, only to cast baseball players. And
I was going to ask about that, because there's something that I noticed when Stranger Things started, and that was 70 years ago now. But when they cast those little kids, they felt like kids. you know, in a Spielberg way almost.
Yeah.
They're not a polished Hollywood sort of Margaret O'Brien type child. Another great current reference, Rob. But these kids, so none of them of the teams they were just all, how was it like wrangling them?
It was really interesting. They were all kids who had been playing in youth baseball, and they were all so disciplined. They were all so used to rigorous practice that they showed up. They were all off book. They all knew their lines. They were all like, they were just had it down because they were almost like scared of screwing up. But
sure.
But the thing that was amazing is that I was told early on, almost like 8 months before we were shooting, close to a year before we were shooting, here are all these great players, and I was like picking the ones I want, and they kept going like, these kids aren't really the best players, and most of them are like physically smaller. And I was like, yeah, but we're shooting 8 months to a year from now.
Oh, you know? Good thinking. Yeah.
There were a couple of the kids that they originally wanted that were like a foot taller by the time we started shooting.
They will shoot right up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's
so we
good
could use them.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's get the little cute ones who are legit baseball players. And that saved us so much time. We lost 2 days of the shoot to rain. Because, I mean,
where did you shoot? Where did you shoot?
We were, in Hamersville, Ohio in June. So it was not only hot and humid and just killingly hot, but it rained a lot. We lost a couple days, and we probably would have had a problem. But on like most of the baseball stuff was like 1 or maybe 2 takes, because I could tell any one of those kids put the ball over the fence right there, and they would do it.
That's fantastic. That is so
cool. You're going to hit it and you're going to catch it. He's going to do a line drive and you're going to catch it and throw it to second. And they would just do it. And it was
did you ever tire of that? I would be delighted every time that happened.
I loved it. I loved working with the baseball kids so much. I wish that it had just been the Bad News Bears and we hadn't had any other story at all.
Yeah. Well, people, and by the way, if I was in the movie, I would play the young Chance. That would have been the role I would have taken. We'd have to use like some AI, I suppose. But the connection, oddly, to the Mike O'Mara show is that we had an intern named Joe Rockhead, but his real name is Mike Eby, and his son was in the movie.
I didn't realize that Mike Eby had actually worked with you.
Yeah, I mean, we worked for a whole summer together.
His son Luke plays the 8-year-old Chance.
Yeah, the role I wanted.
Yeah.
Stupid Joe Rockhead. But no, I got a really delightful call from him when he found out that I was connected to you, and it was just a really cool, and it's a very big small world moment. And
I knew that you guys were both like in the radio world and in the same area. I didn't realize he had worked directly with you. That's awesome.
I might have hired him as an intern.
that's really cool.
But let's not discuss that. Well, but it's a marvelous film, and again, so proud when I see your name come up on the screen. I just love it. So let's talk about Looking Through Water.
Yes.
Okay, so this is it's not even out yet. Can you give me a thumbnail of the plot?
Yes, the story is about a man who is estranged from his father. They haven't really spoken together. They haven't spoken in about 10 years. And he gets a random call from his dad on one of the worst days of his life. His business partners are trying to take his business. His wife has been cheating on him. It's his worst day of his life. And his father calls him up and says, I need you to get on a plane within the next 12 hours and come to Belize and compete in a father-son fishing tournament with me.
As one does.
And the story that then, emerges, he does go down and competes in this tournament with his dad. And so over the course of the time of them in this fly fishing tournament, there's a lot of family secrets come out, and you have a chance for healing and second chances and redemption, which is really what the story is about. It's bookended by the older version of the son is played by Michael Douglas, and he is taking his grandson, played by Walker Scoble, who is the Percy Jackson on the new Disney Plus Percy Jackson series.
Okay, cool.
It takes him out because the kid's been fighting in school, and so Grandpa's going to take him out and get them sorted out.
Yeah.
And Michael Douglas is the one that then tells the story to his grandson, sort of in that, little bit of a Princess Bride sort of a structure where he's the one that's telling the story.
Am I
And
mistaken that it's actually based on 2 books?
it is. It's based on 2 books. It's based on Bob Rich who's a fantastic writer, wonderful guy. He wrote a novel called Looking Through Water. That was his first novel, but he's written 5 or 6 nonfiction books about fly fishing.
Okay.
So he had one that was called Fish Fights, that is a nonfiction book. And so the events that take place in the fishing tournament are all taken like true, stories of, fishermen's tales that are taken from fish fights. But the story of the father-son story is from Looking Through Water.
Was it in development? What was it like melding in real stories with a fictional story?
What's funny is that this is one that I came into really late. With my business now, I consult on a lot of different levels. With Chance, I came in at the point where the story was being developed,
right?
And I helped them develop the story. And then when they started looking for a director, they asked me to do it. I actually hadn't been looking for that job,
right?
Tapped me for that. With this one, the film was actually already shot when I came on board. The producers who had made the film had released a couple hundred films through Hallmark and Lifetime and FX and a bunch of else, but they never theatrically distributed anything. So they hired me as a consultant to help them put together that distribution team, and to also sit in on the recut of the film, because it was sort of unfinished when I came. So yes,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We finished up the film, and now I'm really working on the distribution and marketing now.
When you go in there and you see the film and you're offered direction and the direction of it, and then when you actually did direct Chance, and I go back to something you said earlier in the interview, is you didn't go to film school. So you are, when they offered you to direct Chance, which is big movie, a lot of people, a lot of great stuff in it, it looks every bit a big budget film, and they offered you, did you think to say no, or were you ready for it?
I was scared. It's like,
I think everyone is before you make a big step.
Yeah, I think I was, I was probably on the set of the department heads. I was probably the least experienced person there in my role. I'd been on a lot of sets though, so I knew what the workflow was going to be. And I had been around enough directors and watched them that I felt like I could do the job. I had directed theater before, so I know I could work with actors. But in pre-production, I took the director of photography aside and the first AD, the first assistant director aside. And I was like, look, I've never, directed a feature before. At that point, I had directed a short film. And I was like, but I don't trust myself to be able to stay on my day, So, to the first AD, it was like, keep me on schedule. Yeah, I'm going to rely on you. And if you push me, I'm not going to get mad. I'm asking you to keep me on schedule. And with the DP, I was like, we spent some time in the director of photography. We spent some time in the pre-production of me describing the scenes emotionally. Like, this is what I want it to feel like, but I wasn't necessarily designing the shots. He would show me the shots and go this or this, and I would pick it, but I didn't trust my own photographic sense or where to put the camera. So I was like, I'm going to trust you. And the director of photography, Corey Weintraub, is just enormously talented. So it would be things like we'd be setting up a shot for like later when Chance is kind of gone through a sort of a dark change, and I would say to him, he'd go like, so what's the setup? And I'd say, this is a dark-eyed setup. Which meant that we were lighting in such a way that there were a lot of shadows under Chance's brow. Anytime the character was lying in the film, his eyes were obscured. And so there would be things where it's like, he'd be like, is this a bright eye or a dark eye? This is a dark eye. And then but then he ran with that.
I love that you had such solid people under you that had to make you feel dynamite.
That made me feel great.
Yeah.
That was there were some folks on the cast and crew that I enjoyed working with so much. Like I
How
would
about
work
your
with Corey
wife? How was
forever.
she?
She was great. She not only was she an actor in the film, but she also she wrote a
She's the
script that is going to be one of the next things that I produce. And
no kidding.
yeah, she's going to direct. It'll be her directorial debut.
Oh, I love it.
And so she shadowed me on Chance as the script supervisor, which means that, she's going to making sure that everybody is, that not only are the actors, on book and not blowing the lines or,
Right.
that everything's the same, but the script supervisor also makes little notes like, hey, on your first line, you scratched your head. And so to match, so you've got to do
for
that.
continuity. Yeah.
She's matching the continuity. And then we had two monitors, behind the camera. So I would be watching one, she'd be watching the other. And
cool.
And we relied on each other that way. So it's like she was a huge help for me keeping things consistent. And I think that also hopefully got her prepared for jumping into that chair.
Well, I've seen her on TV before. She was sensational as the principal. And if you thought I was going to go through this interview and not mention her, you're silly. Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, and she was Glass's mom on Grey's Anatomy. For any Grey's Anatomy fans, she was Myrna Schmidt on Grey's Anatomy.
Okay, let's go back to Looking Through Water, because this is what we're here to discuss.
Yes,
is it kind of, and I got the feeling, and we'll show the trailer before we're out of here, is it going to be award bait for Michael Douglas? He looks so good in this role.
It really could be. And while he did not make a firm announcement of it, he mentioned when he was at the Locarno Film Festival just about a month ago that he was more or less retiring. That unless something really knocks his socks off, he's probably not going to act anymore, which makes this very likely his last film role. So,
wow.
So I am hoping that there will be some, some sort of award consideration. It would be a supporting role.
Yeah.
But he does a wonderful job in it.
He's just so effortless, and you believe everything he says. And David Morse is creepy, but how was he?
David Morse was wonderful. And this is something that's coming from someone else who's on set. I was not there to witness this, but much like we did with Chance, they were like, with Chance, the executive producers, like, we have to hire real baseball players, because if anybody who loves baseball watches this and they're not real baseball players, they're going to know. And which turned out to be true. Everyone has commented on how great the baseball players were. And the one scene that teenage Chance, who is not a baseball player, that actor Blake Cooper, he has one scene in a batting cage. And anytime anybody would talk about the baseball, they go, "Oh, the baseball's really great. That 18-year-old Chance, you can see he drops his shoulder." And like, yeah, I get it. So with this one, it was the kind of.
I work with two baseball fans, so I know exactly how that would go.
They're like, yeah. And I was like, I did not believe the EP when he was like, "No, people will be able to tell." Man, can they tell? Oh, yes,
they can.
So
sure.
I'm not doubting anymore. So with this one, they were like, fly fishermen are going to know if you're faking this. And so one of the best anglers in the world, a gentleman named Steve Bichard, was down there as a supervisor, as a technical consultant. Paul Dixon is another great angler. He was down there too. Fly fishing people will probably know those names. But Steve, we've got photos of where, like, Steve had grayed his hair, like the whole clown white thing from back in the day, because he was going to double David Morse. And to make sure the fly fishing was right. And David Morse was like so upset that, like, it would be faked. He's like, I don't want to fake this. I don't want to, I don't want to cut away to just like my hands or cut to the back and everything. So he drilled and drilled and drilled with Steve and with Paul. And by the time they shot, both Paul and Steve were like, this guy's solid.
That's great.
All of the casting in the film from David Morse is really him. And
that makes shooting it easier, I assume.
Oh yeah, it makes
Yeah,
it,
because you don't have to worry about the doubling. Yeah.
and you can do everything all in one shot, so everything looks prettier and not weird editing. But I have an enormous amount of respect for an actor who will come onto a set and just pick up a skill like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that
So
was
you,
great. And he's also just been a great guy to work with on the marketing. Like, it's the kind of thing he's like, hey, can you do this interview? Oh, sure, yeah, I'll do that. Like, he's been very game.
so you're very proud of this movie. It's obvious, and I'm so happy for you.
Really good one.
If you are interested in the New York City area or willing to make the trip, we actually have 3 pairs of tickets to see the movie screened at the Empire 25. That's Times Square, right?
That is correct.
And there will be a Q&A. This is going to be on September 5th, and there's a chance that you'll get a chance to see the stars of the movie
That's right.
at the Q&A. So
That's
if
right.
you're interested in some tickets, you just email me, Robb, R-O-B-B, at MikeO'MaraShow.com, and I will hook you up with John. You get to see a motion picture. You have to pay for your own popcorn, but that's okay.
Yeah, but if you're interested in filmmaking, though, I mean, Roberto Snyder, the director, will be there. Michael Douglas will be there. His son Cameron, who is also excellent in the film, will be there. Another star of the film, Michael Stahl David, who was the star of Cloverfield, is what I think people know him from. He's an excellent guy. He's there. Tamara Tooney, who I think has a lot of fans from Law and Order, is in the film. She's going to be there as well. Just it's going to be a great group of folks.
I've been to one Q&A for a movie, and it's fascinating. It's just so much fun to watch, because especially after you've just seen the movie and it's fresh in your head, and you get to talk to the performers and the director about all the stuff and the choices they made. Before we get out of here, let's look at the trailer.
Yeah.
This is Looking Through Water. And when does it open wide?
We are going to be opening across the country on the 12th of September. We are opening up in AMC's, Regal's, Cinemarks, and some independent theaters across. Also Harkins in the Southwest in Arizona. So yes, you'll be able to get advance tickets starting on August 22nd. And then we open wide on September 12th.
Because I'm a disc jockey, I lied that we're about to watch the trailer, because I have one more question. I know that theatrical stuff is not what it was even 5 years ago. COVID really set the entire industry on its ear. Yeah. And we're seeing so many that are getting almost like just a nominal screening to be award eligible, and then it heads right to Netflix or Amazon or something like that. When you're developing it, do you have a plan for how long it's going to be in theaters before it goes to the streamers, or is that sort of a catch as catch can and we'll figure it out when we get there?
It's different based on the finances, honestly, the budget of the film. The truth is that going out to streaming, going like to Netflix, that kind of thing, that was becoming sort of the way people were watching movies even before COVID. But then as soon as COVID hit and shut everything down, you only had the streaming.
Right.
It made it really difficult for any films to be made that could not get a return on their money just from streaming. Yeah. And what Netflix pays is negligible. So you started to have either much lower budget movies or a lot of foreign TV shows and things like that going onto Netflix, or you had Netflix, paying Adam Sandler $50 million to do movies. And that really dried up a lot of production that wasn't either way here at the top, Netflix originals, or the stuff that was made cheap enough that they could still profit. And the disappointing thing to me, as somebody who had been a theatrical distributor, is that when a movie goes out into theaters in the US, its value in the foreign market goes up. And like what they will pay you for the film's rights, it goes up exponentially when you've been in the theater.
I had no idea.
When you then sell to the streamers, or when you sell your TV rights or on the airlines, whatever, they'll always pay you more if you had a theatrical run.
Wow.
And the reason why is because they're assuming, first off, that you spent some money to advertise.
Sure.
But beyond that, there is an awareness of the film already that benefits them. So they'll pay you more for it. So I have been proselytizing this for a little while, like get your films in theaters, raise the additional money and put your films in theaters. But what I really experienced with this one, it's something that has not happened in 30 years of my doing this. Anytime that I was releasing films, Donnie Darko, Whale Rider, anything like that, when we took them out, we were going into landmark theaters, we were going to Laemmle theaters, we were going into art house chains. And if we did go to something like AMC, we were usually being offered like 2 screens, New York and LA, and we'll see how you do. Or you get 10 screens, we'll see how you do.
With a 7:10 start time, and that's it.
Yes. 7:10 start time and AM. And
oh no, it's horrible.
And then, we'll see how you do, but it's stacked against you. And maybe you could build up to 25, 50 theaters. We showed this film to AMC. Actually, we showed the trailer to AMC, and they immediately offered us 150 theaters. And that's just never happened to me before. Did
your jaw drop?
I did. I was talking to Eric Donnelly, who's my counterpart at Good Deed Entertainment. They're the physical distributors. They're based out of Ohio and just great guys. We both were like, did I hear that right?
Yeah. Please repeat that, please.
As we've been adding in, now that we've screened the film for these other chains as well, we're probably, at this point, I don't have the final theater count, but, we'll be opening at, close to 400 screens.
Wow.
And
when's the last time a movie has done that didn't have a Marvel character in it?
I can't tell you. It's never happened to an independent that I worked on. I mean, things like The Prestige and The Mexican, we distributed with the studio. The Prestige we distributed with Disney, and The Mexican we distributed with DreamWorks because they were bigger films. But for films like this, this is, even though Michael Douglas, David Morse, and everything, this is still an indie. This is still a lower budget film, and so I just never expected it to get this traction. I'm so proud that it did. I think
you should be proud. I'm delighted for you, and I don't even know what to say. It just makes me so glad to be tangentially related to this project just by knowing you. It makes me so pleased. All right, now really, let's look at the trailer, and then we'll wind this up. Remember, we're just going to do 20 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Chamber of Commerce Executive of the Year, Mr. William McKay.
Wait, seriously? What happened then?
I think I need to tell you the rest of my story.
Kyle, say hi to your grandpa.
So what happened to your face?
I got jumped by a couple kids at school. What about your scar?
Well, that's a very long story.
Yeah.
William McKay, how'd you like to compete in a father and son fishing tournament?
I thought you said you'd never talk to your dad.
That was the strange part.
What's with the getup?
William McKay.
Here's my son, William.
Is she a movie star?
Nope.
What do you know about her?
More than I tell you.
Welcome to our father and son fly fishing tournament!
You ever cast a fly before?
Once I stream fished with the governor of Montana.
Take that as a no.
I don't understand. You reached out. Why now? So this is why you left everything and everyone behind.
I'm 75 years old. I just want to fish.
There are more important things in life, Father.
Happiness is on that list. Hold that line hard.
Yeah, baby! Whoa! You and my dad have a good laugh about this?
I've been happy to set you straight a long time ago.
You two need to bury the hatchet, at least for one day.
I spent the last 10 years with the men.
I never stopped being your father. I never stopped caring about you.
Things will never be the same, will they?
Tonight, you get to be a kid. Deal?
Deal.
Wow. I just love it. Opens wide September 12th. And if you want to see it early and you're in the New York City area, send me an email, rob@mikeomarashow.com. We'll get you into the screening on September 5th, which is a Q&A. That's at the Empire 25. John, this has flown by. I'm so proud of you. And I hope you think of the Mike O'Mara Show the next time you need to get the word out, because we didn't get to anything today, really.
when don't, I think.
Well, that's awfully kind and such a lie. But we do love it.
Nothing makes me prouder than you being proud, Rob. I
love it. I love it. I love it. It's just, folks, you got to know we grew up together. His mom was my mom was his mom, and 30 some years later, here we are. You're the king of Hollywood, and I'm podcasting from my basement, and that's great. Everybody, John, thank you. You are so loved and so talented, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you.
Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.